Good morning, everybody. I hope that you're all okay. It's time to read a few more chapters of our year group book, Wonder. And now on Friday, I did tell you, didn't I, that we were going to start reading a new part. And so a different character is going to narrate this part. Perhaps you guessed from my clues on Friday that it's going to be Jack that narrates this bit for us. And so just as always, when we start a new chapter, there's this little drawn image of Jack, or to represent Jack, and there's a little quote. And we've wondered before, haven't we? Do these quotes sum up the character? Do they sum up the chapters that the character narrates? Here's what Jack says. Now here is my secret. It is very simple. It is only with one's heart that they can see clearly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. And so I wonder what you think that means. That's from a book called The Little Prince, written by somebody called Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. And so just have a think. What is essential is invisible to the eye. What do you think that means? Why do you think that's Jack's quote? Okay, let's read a few chapters together. The first chapter from Jack's point of view is called The Call. So in August, so we're going back in time now to August, summer holidays, my parents got this call from Mr. Tushman, the middle school director. And my mum said, maybe he calls all the new students to welcome them. And my dad said, that's a lot of kids he'd be calling. So my mum called him back, and I could hear her talking to Mr. Tushman on the phone. This is exactly what she said. Oh, hi, Mr. Tushman. This is Amanda Will, returning your call. Pause. Oh, thank you. That's so nice of you to say. He is looking forward to it. Pause. Yes. Pause. Yeah. Pause. Oh. Sure. Long pause. Sure. Oh. Wow. Oh. Super long pause. I see, of course. I'm sure he will. Let me write it down. Got it. I'll call you after I've had a chance to talk to him, okay? Pause. No, thank you for thinking of him. Bye-bye. And when she hung up, I was like, what's up? What did he say? And Mum said, well, it's actually very flattering, but kind of sad too. So there's this boy who's starting middle school this year, and he's never been in a real school environment before because he was homeschooled. So Mr. Tushman talked to some of the lower school teachers to find out who they thought were some of the really, really great kids coming into 5th grade. And the teachers must have told him that you were an especially nice kid, which I already know, of course. And so Mr. Tushman is wondering if he could count on you to sort of shepherd this new boy round a bit. Like, let him hang out with me, I said. Exactly, said Mum. He called it being a welcome buddy. But why me? I told you. Your teachers told Mr. Tushman that you were the kind of kid who's known for being a good egg. I mean, I'm so proud that they think so highly of you. Why is it sad? What do you mean? You said it's flattering but kind of sad too. Oh, Mum nodded. Well, apparently, this boy has some sort of... I guess there's something wrong with his face. Or something like that, not sure. Maybe he was in an accident. Mr. Tushman said that he'd explain a bit more when you come to school next week. School doesn't start till September. He wants you to meet this kid before school starts. Do I have to? Mum looked a bit surprised. Well, no, of course not, she said. But it would be a nice thing to do, Jack. If I don't have to do it, I said, I don't want to do it. Can you at least think about it? I'm thinking about it, and I don't want to do it. Well, I'm not going to force you, she said. But at least think about it some more, okay? I'm not calling Mr. Tushman back until tomorrow, so just sit with it a bit. I mean, Jack, I really don't think it's that much to ask that you spend a little extra time with some new kid. It's not just that he's a new kid, Mum, I answered. He's deformed. That's a terrible thing to say, Jack. He is, Mum. You don't even know who he is. Yeah, I do, I said, because I knew the second that she started talking about him that this was a kid named August. And I'm just going to pause for a second because Jack used a word that really isn't a very nice word to use to describe somebody who is disabled. He said he's deformed, and that's not the correct thing to say about people. Deformed is a word that people would find offensive rather than supportive, and so that's why his mum said to him, that's a terrible thing to say, Jack. And I don't know whether he meant to be quite so explosive with it, but I just wanted to point out that that word that's been used isn't a word that we would say was okay to use. Okay, the next chapter is called Carvel. I remember seeing him for the first time in front of the Carvel on Oxford Avenue when I was about 5 or 6. Me and Veronica, my babysitter, was sitting on a bench outside the store with Jamie, my baby brother, who was sitting in his stroller facing us. I guess I was busy eating my ice cream cone because I didn't even notice the people who sat down next to us. Then, at one point, I turned my head to suck the ice cream out of the bottom of my cone, and that's when I saw him. August. He was sitting right next to me. I know it wasn't cool, but I kind of went, "Ugh," when I saw him, because I honestly got scared. I thought he was wearing a zombie mask or something. It was like the "ooh" that you say when you're watching a scary movie and the bad guy jumps out of the bushes. Anyway, I know it wasn't nice of me to do that. And though the kid didn't hear me, I know his sister did. "Jack, we have to go," said Veronica. She'd gotten up and was turning the stroller around because Jamie, who had obviously noticed the kid too, was about to say something embarrassing. So I jumped up kind of suddenly, like a bee had landed on me, and followed Veronica as she zoomed away. I could hear the kid's mum saying softly behind us, "Okay, guys, I think it's time to go." And I turned around to look at them one more time. The kid was licking his ice cream cone, the mum was picking up his scooter, and the sister was glaring at me like she was going to kill me. I looked away quickly. "Veronica, what was wrong with that kid?" I whispered. "Hush, boy," she said, her voice angry. I love Veronica, but when she got mad, she got mad. Meanwhile, Jamie was practically spilling out of his stroller, trying to get another look as Veronica pushed him away. "But, Veronica," said Jamie. "You boys are very naughty, said Veronica, as soon as we were further down the block, "staring like that." "I didn't mean to," I said. "Veronica," said Jamie. "Us leaving like that," Veronica was muttering. "Oh, Lord, that poor lady. I tell you, boys, every day we should thank the Lord for our blessings. You hear me? Veronica?" "What is it, Jamie?" "Is it Halloween?" "No, Jamie." "Then why was that boy wearing a mask?" Veronica didn't answer. Sometimes, when she was mad about something, she would do that. "He wasn't wearing a mask," I explained to Jamie. "Hush, Jack," said Veronica. "Why are you so mad, Veronica?" I couldn't help asking. I thought this would make her angrier, but actually she shook her head. "It was bad how we did that," she said. "Just getting up like that, like we'd just seen the devil. I was scared for what Jamie was going to say, you know. I didn't want him to say anything that would hurt that little boy's feelings, but that was very bad, us leaving like that. The mama knew what was going on." "But we didn't mean it," I answered. "Jack, sometimes you don't have to mean to hurt someone. You understand?" That was the first time I ever saw August in the neighbourhood. At least that I remember. But I've seen him around ever since then. A couple of times in the playground, a few times in the park. He used to wear an astronaut helmet sometimes. But I always knew it was him underneath that helmet. All the kids in the neighbourhood knew it was him. Everyone has seen August at some point or another. We all know his name, though he doesn't know ours. And whenever I've seen him, I try to remember what Veronica said. But it's hard. It's hard not to sneak a second look. It's hard to act normal when you see him. And so there, Jack is reminiscing on the first time that he saw August, the first time that he can remember seeing him. And August and Via, in previous parts, have described the feelings that they get or what happens when people first see August for the first time. August has told us before that sometimes people make this shocked noise. And Jack's saying that that's exactly what he did. And he knew that was wrong, but It was hard because he was shocked. The next chapter is called Why I Changed My Mind. Who else did Mr. Tushman call? I asked Mum later that night. Did he tell you? He mentioned Julian and Charlotte. Julian? I said. Ugh, why Julian? You used to be friends with Julian. Mum, that was like in kindergarten. Julian is the biggest phony there is, and he's trying so hard to be popular all the time. A phony is like a fake. Well, said Mum, at least Julian agreed to help this kid out. Got to give him credit for that. I didn't say anything, because she was right. What about Charlotte? I said. Is she doing it too? Yes, Mum said. Of course she is. Charlotte's such a goody two-shoes, I answered. Boy, Jack, said Mum, you seem to have a problem with everyone these days. It's just... I started. Mum, you have no idea what this kid looks like. I can't imagine. No, you can't. You've never seen him. I have. It might not even be who you're thinking it is. Trust me, it is. And I'm telling you, it's really, really bad. His eyes are down here. I pointed to my cheeks. And he has no ears. And his mouth is like... Jamie had walked into the kitchen to get a juice box from the fridge. Ask Jamie, I said. Right, Jamie, remember that kid we saw in the park after school last year? The kid named August, the one with the face. Oh, that kid, said Jamie, his eyes opening wide. He gave me a nightmare. Remember, Mummy? That nightmare about the zombies from last year. I thought that was from watching a scary movie, answered Mum. No, said Jamie. It was from seeing that kid. When I saw him, I was like, ah, and I ran away. Wait a minute, said Mum, getting serious. Did you do that in front of him? I couldn't help it, said Jamie, kind of whining. Of course you could help it, Mum scolded. Guys, I have to tell you, I'm really disappointed by what I'm hearing here. And she looked like how she sounded. I mean, honestly, he's just a little boy, just like you. Can you imagine how it felt to see you running away from him, Jamie, screaming? It wasn't a scream, argued Jamie. It was like a, ah! He put his hands on his cheeks and then started running round the kitchen. Come on, Jamie, Mum said angrily. I honestly thought both of my boys were more sympathetic than that. What is sympathetic? Asked Jamie, who was only going into second grade. You know exactly what I mean by sympathetic, Jamie, said Mum. It's just he's so ugly, Mummy, said Jamie. Hey, Mum yelled. I don't like that word. Jamie, just get your juice box. I want to talk to Jack alone for a second. Look, Jack, said Mum, as soon as he left, and I knew she was about to give me a whole speech. Okay, I'll do it, I said, which completely shocked her. You will? Yes. So I can call Mr. Tushman? Yes, Mum. Yes, I said yes. Mum smiled. I knew you'd rise to the occasion, kiddo. Good for you. I'm proud of you, Jackie. And she messed up my hair. So here's why I changed my mind. It wasn't so I wouldn't have to hear Mum give me a whole lecture. And it wasn't to protect this August kid from Julian, who I knew would be a jerk about the whole thing. It was because when I heard Jamie talking about how he'd run away from August, going, I suddenly felt really bad. The thing is, there are always going to be kids like Julian who are jerks. But if a little kid like Jamie, who's usually a nice enough kid, can be that mean, then a kid like August doesn't stand a chance at middle school. And we're going to leave it there for this morning. So we are back in the month August when Mr. Tushman has asked for the children to show Augie round. So before they go on this tour, and to start with, Jack said no, didn't he? Why did he say no? He's changed his mind. He's realised that actually in the past, me and my brother have done things that are out of order to August that we shouldn't have done. Jamie ran around screaming. And that's my brother, and he's nice. He's not someone like Julian, who I don't think Jack does think particularly highly of, does he? Jamie's nice. And if even nice kids can act mean, to somebody like August. Little tiny kids, and he's going to need some friends. And so he's changed his mind. We will have to wait until tomorrow or over this week to see how the story progresses from Jack's point of view. We know how things change from August's point of view. We know, but at the minute, lots of us are probably still feeling quite grumpy with Jack because he wasn't very kind about August on Halloween. We know that's coming, but we'll have to wait and see how it progresses while we get there through Jack's point of view. Okay, I hope you enjoyed those few chapters, and we'll do some more reading together soon. Have a lovely rest of your day.